This video is going viral, the right term. It's got 1 million views in a day. That's pretty good for More Perfect Union, you know? We had 400 people shop for groceries. What we found will shock you. This is important.
The holy grail for a long time has been, what if we could charge every single person the maximum amount that we know they're able to or willing to pay?
Yep.
They know things about us that we don't know. They're smarter than us, and we're training them in a way that is incalculable.
Walk into any grocery store, and on average, everything is about 30% more expensive than it was in 2020.
Inflation, supply chains, tariffs.
We've heard it all. But what if something else is happening? Something intentional? What if someone is charged $2 for these eggs, but another person is charged $2.40 at the same exact store? And it's pushing prices up. 5 months ago, a researcher reached out to me about Instacart. She'd been studying their Washington, D.C. workforce. Different pay for nearly identical work.
Oh God, is this happening now? Yes. This is the future of the economy. Capitalism no longer offers us product innovation. Nobody is building anything that will improve our lives. The goal now, oh fuck, it is Vosh. The goal now, the only thing they have to offer is maximum extraction. How can we charge every single customer the absolute most they are willing to pay on any given product or service for any given point in time? It doesn't matter. We could make it cheaper. We could make it more expensive. We're trying to find that threshold. And because different people have different income levels, well...
Her question, if they do this to workers, what about consumers? Before joining More Perfect Union, I worked in grocery pricing, so I agreed to help investigate. The problem? It wasn't easy to test. Grocery prices change all the time.
So grocery stores are doing surge pricing? No. It's more insidious than that. They're doing this with airline tickets as well. They probably are doing it in a lot of ways. They're building individual profiles on every single shopper to use scraped internet data about your purchasing habits, what they can get about your income, any data that they can find on you, which is a lot. They can find your whole entire life. And then, based on how much money you have available to you and what you're willing to buy and what you're interested in, they will dynamically price the item for you specifically when you buy it, in person or online. It's a model of maximum extraction. So if you are poor and can't afford that much, congratulations. It'll be just barely what you can afford. But if you have more money, then it'll cost you more. Isn't this like super illegal? Depends on where you are. My understanding is that this is illegal in the European Union, but I'm pretty sure that in most states this is legal. I could be wrong on that.
For legitimate reasons. Receipts you can't compare. If we wanted to do this, we'd need a team. A researcher, community organizers, other journalists, and most importantly, regular people who care. Lots of them. 5 months of digging. What we found is bigger than Instacart.
Yes. It's called price discrimination and it's illegal. Well, I guess then the more salient counter argument would be it's only illegal if the federal government is willing to do something about it, you know?
Inflation is real. But something else has been pushing prices higher this whole time. There's a system, one that grocery stores and tech companies built together. It learns from every purchase.
It's not just online. It's in the physical stores you walk into, with the primary goal, maximize profit.
Day by day, it's moving billions of dollars, 1 penny at a time.
Here's how we uncovered it, how it's turning the grocery business into a gold mine, and why, without regulation, your grocery bill may keep climbing no matter what happens with inflation.
The goal is to make sure you can never get ahead. You can never build savings. You can never get comfortable. You can never live your life comfortably. Everything will always keep creeping upward. As the algorithms determine you have more money to spend, they will take it from you. The only people who can actually escape this are the people with so much money that, you know, they're not going to charge him $20 per banana, right? Eventually you escape the orbit. But if you're in middle or low income territories, they will strain you for every penny they can get, making sure that you're always just enough in debt, not overwhelmingly in debt, right? Because then you'd kill yourself and that'd be the end of that. but just enough in debt that it always feels like if you just worked that much harder, you could pay off all the Klarna, all the financed groceries, all the medical bills, but you'll never be able to. No one actually does, you know? It's also a meaningful shift away from the traditional capitalist model of competition. Like, how do you make more money than your competitors? Well, you know, you innovate, you lower prices, you do something. You have to do something to the market. Now the model is, well, there are no competitors. Everything's owned by the same people, you know? So the only way to make more money in that environment is to maximize extraction. It has nothing to do with what you produce, competition, driving prices down, or anything. All of the typical arguments for a market-based economy fall away. These are arguments that I'm susceptible to as well. There are potential benefits to a genuinely competitive open market with regards to stuff like luxuries, for example, stuff humans don't need, that there's a, you know, elastic demand for. But if this is the model for all production and for all service, then it's barely even capitalism anymore. I mean, it is at its face, but the underlying mechanisms are all completely broken. It becomes something somehow much worse.
I'm now going to ask you to take out your phone, and we're going to get started with shopping for 20 items at the Safeway.
This is Katie Wells. She's the Director of Research at Groundwork Collaborative. She's the one who reached out. The plan was pretty simple. Get everyone in a room, open up Instacart, select the same store, same items, on phones and computers. Select pickup to remove any delivery calculations, and write our basket totals down on a note card. All to test a simple question. Were shoppers being charged different amounts for the same exact item at the same exact
If I recall correctly, it's only illegal if other businesses coordinate with each other to fix prices. Yes, but one of the big legal loopholes they've tried using is, oh, we're not colluding with each other. We're all just using the same tech company's price optimization application that is coordinating prices for us. So we're not colluding, you know? They've done that with, wasn't there a big lawsuit because there was one city where a bunch of landlords were doing that? They weren't colluding with each other on the price of their properties, but rather they were all deferring what their price ought to be to the same decision-making system. Well, was that in DC? Okay.
more in time.
Congratulations, guys. You have finished the test.
First, we all shared our cart totals.
We're in the same room, the same address ordering, and we still had different prices.
You're the highest.
I'm not surprised. What I've come to understand is that a lot of things that we do online is predicated on algorithms.
Different totals. There's plausible explanations. Promotions, user error, app issues. But if the items themselves had different prices, that's something else.
The items had upwards of 3 different prices offered.
Katie analyzed the data.
Sheesh.
The greatest difference was
That's quite a bit. Usually it just varies by a couple percentage points, though keep in mind we're seeing the beginning of the implementation of a much broader, much worse version of this system. The airline tickets, they want to do it for margins of like hundreds of dollars, you know. We're talking about potentially a system where it is just not possible to get ahead. Zillow and Redfin got busted for this. I guarantee you basically everyone is doing some version of this. They're all legally obligated to. Everyone has to chase shareholder value over everything. Only for you, Flying Dutchman, not for everyone.
It's about a 70-cent spread. For eggs, the prices varied from $4.59 to $4.69 down to $4.28. It was a 41-cent span.
One store, one moment in time. It's a small sample size. This could be a fluke.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You have found your way to the Consumer Reports Grocery Pricing webinar.
The problem with testing any of this is that these systems are so massive that you need scale to even try. Consumer Reports joined the collaboration. They brought a volunteer network, community organizers, a reporter. Alongside them, we recruited volunteers, over 400 people. Same process. Everyone opens Instacart. Same store, same items. When pickup wasn't available, same delivery address. Same moment. Screenshot everything. submit. The team verified every entry, cross-checked every screenshot, built...
Can we just nuke the fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders from the law? Go back to, what was that? The Supreme Court back in like 1912 or something? Henry Ford? What was that case? The idea that a corporation has a primary obligation to the well-being of their shareholders? It's mostly Delaware law, actually. Yeah, a bunch of corporations are well, they're incorporated there. It's not even law, it's just precedent. I'm pretty sure it's law. Well, I think it's state law in many places, but the Supreme Court precedent established the right for those laws to exist. I think. What about those data deletion services like Delete Me? Can they help? I don't want to sound too down on it, but not really no. My understanding is that the cloud of algorithmic information you leave behind is so massive, so difficult to like keep control of, and they are so good at scraping it that there's basically nothing you can do. Like, it's trying to use conventional civilian accessible programs to scrub all your data online. It's like a non-stop project of vigilance that you're probably only scraping up what you're aware of. There's probably a huge chunk of it you're not aware of, you know? I don't think this can be solved from a personal level. It has to be solved through a policy level.
The database. Katie crunched the data, and when the data came back, I gotta be honest, I stared at it for a while because what we found was weird. I'm gonna show you some basket totals. Some people were charged about $114 for the 20 items. Others, nearly $124.
Jesus. That's actually a huge variance. Also, hello, Seattle. Makes sense the variance would be greater over here in a fucking tech capital.
This wasn't in one or two cases. This was the lion's share of shoppers for the lion's share of items.
If you zoom in, nearly 3 out of 4 products had different...
The same store. Listen, you have to understand what's happening here. Instacart, when you open the program, is using an AI synthesization of billions of data points to create a profile on you, and it is dynamically repricing the items as you look at them. You would never even know unless you compared it to another person. The AI is looking through an album of pictures of your asshole that you sent other people on Discord in order to determine exactly how much you should be paying for Pedialyte.
Prices during the experiments. 4 different prices for wheat thins. 5 different prices for eggs. 3 prices for peanut butter. Wait, what? The system sorted people into price groups, where each person was charged the same for every item. For this test, there were 4 price groups. Same cart, same store, same moment.
So Instacart is just skimming off the top A into the price. Did they ever take a loss? My assumption is that the Instacart, the price set by the grocer is the ground floor, and Instacart is using its data to inflate the price by acceptable margins and splitting those profits with the grocer. So they both get a cut from it. That's my guess.
Same with this test. For this store, 7 different price groups.
Maybe sometimes it's only Instacart.
This didn't seem random, but who or what was doing the sorting? Back in August, before we even ran the test, I called Instacart. We don't set prices, retailers do. And we believed them, but the group suggested something deeper was going on. Why would an algorithm sort people into buckets where everyone pays the exact same prices? Not just on one item, but across multiple products. All higher together, all lower together. I started researching, and that's when I stumbled on surveillance pricing. Companies tracking your behavior, your purchase history, and charging you based on that. It's a type of algorithmic pricing, where companies hand pricing over to an algorithm.
It's almost impossible for people outside the companies practicing the dark art of algorithm price determination, exactly what is driving those algorithms to set the prices that we observe.
Len Sherman studies...
It really does like boggle the mind. terrifying ramifications of technology like this, what it could mean. We already know how it's being used now, but we're not aware of all of its use. You know, we don't know how far it's gone and where and what it could lead to. Can you imagine what dynamic pricing would look like when they start applying it to medical services?
This at Columbia's Business School. Was that what was happening here? When we showed Instacart the test results, they were clear. Retailers control all pricing. The findings were just stores putting out random feelers to see where the pricing sweet spot is. They aren't targeting you specifically. So we verified with the stores.
You think they aren't already? Yeah, probably. Let me put it a different way. The black box of the AI's decision making might be sorting different racial groups of people into different categories. What do you think is going to start? I guess I should say, how long until we get concrete evidence that black families are going to see higher proposed rent prices from Zillow or Redfin or whatever else on the nice neighborhoods than white people, because they've been pre-sorted by an algorithm with no human intervention, by the way, that has determined that they're not preferred for those locations and should be financially disincentivized from doing so. The more we defer to the surveillance state, the more we defer to the policing by algorithm, the more of our rights we give up.
First, Albertsons Safeway. They're an Instacart partner. Silence. Then we contacted Target. They responded. And honestly, my jaw dropped. They told us, we don't work with Instacart. We don't set prices. We have nothing to do with any of this. Wait. Instacart says retailers control the prices, and Target says they don't even work with Instacart? I started digging. Turns out, in 2017, Target spent over $500 million to buy Shipt, Instacart's competitor. Why would they help Instacart? We asked Instacart about Target's response. Instacart admitted they actually do manage Target's prices on the marketplace, and that they were running tests to figure out how much they can charge on top of Target's normal prices. Their explanation shifted, but the question we started with was still the same. How does the system sort people into different price groups? To figure that out, we needed to understand what Instacart actually does. You may think of Instacart as a delivery app, but it's much bigger than that.
With Instacart is more the technology. I don't think of it as a grocery delivery company. I think of it more of a technology company.
Selling technology that powers grocery websites, advertising campaigns, promotions.
Yeah, Instacart might just actually pocket the difference. Not that it makes a huge difference to me personally, because these grocery stores would probably end up like wanting to do the same thing themselves. Man, I don't want to do any more Northern Lion bits, but it does kind of seem like in the long run, the only way to survive is going to be to like pay for everything in cash. You know, just every week you withdraw like, I don't know, $1,000 from the ATM or whatever well, more if you're paying for rent in cash, I suppose, whatever you're paying. And you just go in there, you've got you become cash pilled. Just grocery shop in person. This is your DoorDash. Yeah, but they're trying to do this in person as well. More and more new grocery stores have digital pricing displays. It's not super common yet, but believe me, it's going to be. That allows them to make those adjustments on the fly. You know, maybe during the periods of time where more wealthy people are in store, they pay more, that kind of thing, like surge pricing. But what if they don't display the price at all? You know, many gas stations don't list prices. Yeah, well, I mean, why would they? You don't think you're going to get bilked for a fucking Gordetto's bag or whatever, so you go up there and who's the wiser if you pay 30 cents more than you would have otherwise?
In 2022, Instacart bought Eversight, a company that optimizes grocery prices.
Eversight says it runs constant experiments that are not made visible to consumers, and it is running tests in part to collect data about how much I'm willing to pay for canola oil, and it's using that information to likely create more profits for these companies.
The company calls it AI for everyday price performance. The website promises 2 to 5% profit increases. In early November, Consumer Reports ran follow-up experiments at Costco. They found price gaps, 15% on a bag of chips. Derek asked Costco to explain.
We got an email a few hours later from a Costco vice president of grocery.
The message described a program called Smart Rounding.
You know, it took us a little bit of time to realize what we were.
Oh, fuck, I've seen this.
Hey, how does Walmart know what I'm buying in cash? I got an email from them this afternoon that says, hey, can you rate this product that you purchased recently? And I did purchase that product recently from Walmart. I bought it in cash, right? I walked to the electronics section and bought a USB charging cable with cash and then walked out. And I know that the first, you've already started typing. It's the Walmart app on your phone, you moron. That is a fair assumption. I do not have the Walmart app on my phone. I have never had the Walmart app on my phone. And further, I did not have my phone with me on this trip. Here's how I know I didn't have my phone with me on this trip. I remember specifically talking to the employee in the back of the electronics section and trying to explain specifically which USB connector I was looking for. And I couldn't explain it well. And so I tried to pull my phone out to show the gentleman what I was looking for, and I didn't have my phone on me. And so I had to continue my game of terrible charades and torture this poor guy until he finally was like, well, look, here's what we've got. And then I was able to find what I needed. But the point being,
I can't confirm whether or not this story specifically is true, but my black pill on this is the fact that many, many times in my life, Amazon has begun recommending me products that relate only to, with no exceptions, a conversation that I had out loud in the past hour or so near my phone while it was sitting with the screen off on the desk. Happened many, many times. I remember you people used to say I was crazy for saying that they were always listening, and then the articles came out and it turns out they always were.
my phone was not on my person.
We're seeing, which was an internal communication between Instacart and Costco.
They don't need to listen. They can infer from other data points. No. But they are listening. Whether or not they need to is immaterial. They are listening. They are when you talk near your phone, as I'm doing right now next to my phone, which is not off, but it's like the screen's off, you know, the phone is listening to what I'm saying and picking up on what I'm saying and filtering that data and breaking it down into keywords and providing it to a list of partners with Apple, because it's an iPhone, that they have agreed to share data with. And it is illegal, and they do it anyway, and nobody stops them.
Inadvertently, this Costco executive forwarded us this internal email.
As far as we can tell, Instacart has only talked about smart rounding once in a 2023 letter to shareholders. The company defined it: machine learning driven tool that helps retailers improve price perception and drive incremental sales. Translation: flex prices up or down based on what the algorithm says will maximize profit.
For some of our major grocery partners, this has led to millions of dollars in annual incremental sales.
Millions of dollars.
This is a very sophisticated, very deliberate, explicit attempt to...
Modern conspiracy theories suck. You know, it used to be like, oh, the moon landing. Now the conspiracy theories are like, oh, did you hear the shady shit a corporation is doing? Real cyberpunk territory, you know? And you're like, no, I haven't heard of that. That sounds fake. And you're like, well, no, they admitted it in their Q2 report in 2024. In their shareholder meeting, they actually just laid out a concrete plan of how they're implementing it. Oh, okay. Kind of anticlimactic, you know?
Maximize profits and do so somewhat surreptitiously.
We'd answered some questions. Different prices for different people. Yes. Random testing? Maybe not. Smart rounding showed it's designed for profit. Retailers in control? Debatable. Instacart sets at least one grocer's prices. But we still couldn't answer, how does the system sort people into price groups? Then one store showed us the bigger picture. Schnucks, regional grocer. They're on every...
This shit is getting me to be a lot more EU-pilled. The European Union is one of the only major national, well, international in their case, but institutions that seems interested in privacy and consumer rights. Like, consumer rights were invented in the United States. The idea of like the government stepping in to ensure that the customer, the consumer, had protections from the improprieties of the companies they were buying from, that's an American invention, more or less. Labor rights, as we understand them, we built that up. People elsewhere followed us. And now, it's a fucking nightmare.
The cart press release. No price variation at all. One night it hit me. What if they already moved past online testing? You've probably heard stories about electronic shelf labels, digital price tags that can change prices instantly. If they're testing prices in store with those labels, and the app just mirrors what's on the shelf, you'd never catch it with our test, which might explain Schnucks. The typical fear with these labels is surge pricing, raising lemonade prices when it's hot out. What if the goal isn't surge pricing at all? What if it's more subtle, more permanent? Would you rather charge $10 for a bottle of water during a single hurricane, or 20 cents more every single day? Derek had a genius idea, patents. He found one. It described an infrastructure for constant in-store price testing. Take dozens of stores, cluster them together, test different prices in different clusters. The purpose? Find out the most profitable price point. Once you do, adopt it. We asked Schnucks and Instacart. Both denied it. But for Instacart, their website told a different story. If you go there right now, you'd see this, 3 features. Before we asked, 4 features. And the one removed, price optimization with Eversight via electronic shelf labels. Gone. So Instacart denied doing it, then changed their website. Later, they told us it was never a feature and the update was made for accuracy.
What if dynamic pricing based on income? Yeah, well, that is part of what's happening here. That's part of the equation. And I don't know. I'm all for punishing rich people and all that, but in my opinion, it's kind of lame. If you work hard and you get a raise at work, like you get a promotion, you get a bit more money, and then you go to the grocery store and everything you bought is now like 6% more expensive because you posted onto Twitter about your promotion, and the data scraping algorithm immediately interpreted from that you could pay more for what you were buying. I don't know. I think that sounds a little bit shitty. Yeah, never get ahead. Always stay trapped in the grind, okay? The only way to break free is to be truly, truly wealthy. And outside of that, you're always in the rope.
But that didn't track. The feature seems to show up in past marketing materials and press releases. If it's operational, the system would be a truly impressive feat of engineering. In store?
This makes me a fucking Maoist, dude. Well, this is why I said that, like, I don't think you should even bother voting for Gavin Newsom if he ends up being the Democratic congressional or presidential candidate in 2028. We don't need, like, moderate Democrat leadership after this. We need, like, militant, like, radical. I mean, like, it should be obvious just watching this, but the Democrats as they are now aren't really capable of fixing any of these underlying problems. You know, the Democrats aren't going to trust us. They're not going to make it so that our political news isn't filtered through one of like 3 potential outlets. They're not going to fix these fundamental issues. They're just going to dress it up a little bit. We need a real transformative approach. Maoists can't solve this either. Well, no, Maoists aren't very good at solving problems either. Unironically, what we need like is Dengism, okay? Because at least that motherfucker understood how to wrangle corporations for the national good. Not so much anymore.
Testing across locations, online, testing across individuals. But we still couldn't answer how the online system decided who gets charged more. So we started building a theory, not based on what Instacart told us, but on what Instacart told the government. Patents. The word that appears over and over in them, it's not random. It's segmentation.
Yep.
Derek started reading through the criteria they could use to sort people. Some things raised red flags. Demographics. It's illegal to charge someone more based on those. Katie controlled for that. No correlation in the sample.
I don't believe they would try to vary prices based on those kinds of characteristics, nor would it be very effective if they did. What would be way more effective and perfectly legal, as far as I know, is to vary prices based on behavioral characteristics.
Behavioral characteristics. That's exactly what the patents show. Buying behavior, purchase history, how frequently you shop, whether you're shopping around, coupon usage, loyalty program participation.
Me when I blackface myself to get 6% cheaper groceries. Me with the paintbrush and the bucket of shoe shine every time I'm going down to Safeway to game remove. No, it's good. It's good. And I think black people would applaud that you're you know, trying to beat out the oppressive system. They would see you as an ally.
An infrastructure that tracks everything you do, uses it to decide what to charge you. We asked Instacart, does this explain who gets sorted into different price groups? Their response? One old patent from 2015, before we purchased Eversight. Patents are always broad. This doesn't prove we're actually using this technology. Fair point. Here's the same chart and a host of other patents, mostly about promotions. Marketing material that touts the patents. And then this one, a promotional patent that describes shopper and product.
I guess for me, one of the biggest indicators here, or the biggest red flag, is that corporations these days are always hiding what they're doing. Always hiding, you know? Like big breakthroughs, big innovations in how they offer their products or their services, what their pricing schemes are. It's crazy to imagine, but stuff like that used to be a lot more above board because corporations were proud of it, you know? Oh, you get a free soda with your meal, do you? How interesting. You know, it used to be at the very least, like, I mean, obviously these schemes are always done to benefit the company, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not mutually beneficial. There are things companies can do that increase their profits while also improving the quality of experience of the customer. That's not like crazy. That's how they used to get ahead, you know? Or it's one of the ways. At the very least, it used to be more common. Nowadays, it's all this back-end techno scheming surveillance bullshit, and they are always so cagey about it. They're always so afraid of admitting what they're doing, like they're hiding it, they're embarrassed of it. I mean, they should be afraid.
Headroom, meaning how much more money could this person spend overall, and how much more could they spend on this product. The patent says they can calculate this for every individual consumer, but for efficiency, typically people are grouped with similar consumers. Groups, just like our test showed.
Every company that I know is practicing first-degree price discrimination, strenuously denies that they're doing so.
And again, Instacart denies segmenting people by personal or behavioral data. What happens when companies actually do this at scale? In 2022, Uber rolled out algorithmic pricing for riders and drivers. Len studied what happened next.
For the next 3 years, average rider price per mile went up.
Yep.
Uber denies all of this. But at about this time, they went from burning money to a cash machine.
That's why more and more companies are trying as hard as they can to perfect this dark art. Devilishly effective dark art, as I've called it.
Oh yeah, Uber pricing is super fucky? Yeah, of course. You make the pricing system completely opaque, so you have no way of predicting ahead of time how much something will cost. You've run all the taxis out of business, so the taxis' reliable pricing scheme is no longer available as an alternative. You know, you're pretty much forced into Uber or Lyft or whatever else. So now the only time people ever use Uber is when they're forced to. They open it up and they go, oh my God, $52? Just to get downtown? Fuck, I guess I have no choice. And that's how Uber makes their money now. Everything is always getting worse.
That's how you turn grocery sales into a gold mine.
Now, algorithmic pricing sometimes offers lower prices, and the total impact on grocery prices, impossible to measure. Instacart is just one company, a sliver of the grocery market. They claim 10 clients with Eversight. What are other companies doing? I started looking.
Pricing is the single most powerful lever to raise profits, far more effective than either boosting sales or cutting costs.
Prices optimized. Profit increases.
There's an entire industry built around optimizing.
The shit you hear when you are walking through university and you peer in through the open door of somebody in a business class and the teacher's writing that shit on the whiteboard like it's an actual lesson and everyone's writing it down.
Grocery prices. I called Earl Schweizer, 25 years in grocery, former VP of grocery at Whole Foods. Why is everyone racing to adopt this?
It's very much defensive. Amazon's already doing it. Walmart is doing it, so everybody's got to keep up.
Merchants, pricing teams, they all rely on technology and algorithms to safeguard their profits.
That's Walmart's former VP of pricing.
So Instacart has played this really vital role for the competitors of Amazon and Walmart, which is pretty much almost everybody else, to have a lot of the same tools and access to consumers as the big guys.
The systems are watching you, learning your patterns, using that to charge everyone accordingly.
They know.
To play a bit of devil's advocate, some of Uber's dynamic pricing is basically just supply and demand. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like what you're describing, supply and demand, it's also how scalping works. It's also how surge pricing works. It's just socially harmful if every business always has the ability to charge you the maximum amount possible for anything that you would be willing to buy. Like, society is not improved if when there's a flood and people are desperate for clean water, you go to the grocery store and all the water now costs 20 times as much. That doesn't improve. Like, people could argue in a vacuum, well, by increasing the price, you're actually making sure only the people who want it the most can get it. Well, no, you're making sure the people who can afford it the most can get it. You're not improving society, man. You're just price gouging. And there are laws against this, you know, against price gouging. But it doesn't matter. I mean, in practice, this stuff is happening on a microscopic level absolutely everywhere all the time. Isn't this just capitalism? Not necessarily. I mean, yes, obviously it is, but capitalism doesn't necessarily require all prices to be gouged. We're finding ways of making it worse. You know, we're taking a system that is ripe for abuse and we're abusing it further.
Things about us that we don't know. They're smarter than us, and we're training them in a way.
I wish I'd never been conceived. The void was better. Listen, pussy is still really good, and like ass, if you're into that. Okay, it's don't get lame here. All right. Remember, things were worse in Cyberpunk 2077, but people were still having fun. Okay, we gotta. Yeah, there's like pizza.
That is incalculable.
This didn't happen overnight. 20 years of building this infrastructure. It was kept in check by inertia. Everyone was afraid to raise prices. COVID changed that.
There's no guardrails. It's a free-for-all. It's a wild, wild west.
Companies are investing millions into systems designed to outsmart you. Testing, learning, finding the maximum profit.
The holy grail for a long time has been, what if we could charge every single person the maximum amount that we know they're able to or willing to pay? Studies like this are just validating that firms are very much already midway through trying this, executing it.
That's Lena Khan, former chair of the Federal Trade Commission. She agreed to review our findings with an eye to how we should protect consumers.
This could ultimately end up being another big form of wealth.
But is this not just the oldest capitalist story in the book? Look, for capitalism is about the relationship that people have to the means of production. It's about the material relationship that different classes of people have to the ability to produce things, you know? This is an element, but this is an element of it that is being expanded massively through technology. It used to be price gouging was really obvious when it happened, you know? You could immediately identify it. But thanks to modern technology, it is now possible to engage in a mass scheme of constant near invisible price gouging, which means that something that has been widely described as evil, something that's largely illegal, right, can now happen invisibly without public critique or legal intervention, you know? All I'm trying to do right now is watch this with you guys so we can all be aware of the problem. I know that we are always doing this on the stream. I know we're always learning about new bad things, but that's because I don't really talk about all the good things. I don't come on here to tell you guys about the amazing chili that my beautiful partner made 2 nights ago, okay? I don't come on here to tell you guys about all the sweet pussy out there or whatever. You know, sometimes you have to discover that stuff for yourself. You have to find the chili and the pussy. We should do more game streams. We have to finish E33. There are good things out there too, but we need to be aware of the bad things. And we need to engage with it honestly. And honesty in this case means not being preemptively dismissive by saying, well, haven't we all seen this before? No. No, you haven't. It's new. Well, relatively new, past couple of years, but it's only going to get worse. We have to understand that.
Transfer from ordinary Americans to massive corporations.
I asked about the in-store testing apparatus, electronic shelf labels, the patents.
Firms have been trying to figure that out for many decades, but I think what's different now is both the sophistication of the tools that are available, just the deep information asymmetries that exist between consumers and these firms that are...
So what can we do about this? Spend carefully, save money, don't spend on shit you don't need. Don't use Instacart. Don't use DoorDash. Don't use Uber. Plan your life. Live diligently. Live frugally. Be careful. Be smart. Exercise. Buy rice and beans. And always, always, always be class conscious. because as time goes on, the world is going to be sucked dry more and more by these parasites, and public sentiment is going to grow, and people are going to get angrier, and we need people to be directed appropriately. People need to have the right response, the right engagement when that happens, you know? And also, like and subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified when new content comes out.
Benefiting.
But there was something else that concerned her.
When you have companies like Instacart that could be facilitating, it could also ultimately
also shop at Costco if you can.
Allow firms that really should be competing against one another when setting these prices to actually engage more in something that looks like price fixing or collusion.
Because it could mean that one company, Instacart, is setting prices for retailers who should be competing with each other. Then I asked her about regulation. Her answer surprised me.
I think we need to have a much more first order conversation about, do we even want to permit some of these tactics in the first instance?
Under Khan's watch, the FTC started an investigation into surveillance pricing.
This week, it launched an investigation, the FTC, into the use of AI to rapidly change pricing.
That investigation is now in question. The Trump administration claims it is ongoing, but Khan's replacement stopped public comments. But Lena pointed out that states don't need to wait for the Trump administration.
The steps we've seen, even from states like California and New York, to ban certain types of algorithmic price fixing in areas like housing and rent, for example, I think are extraordinarily important steps. We need more investigations. So I think we need a 360 view to try to understand what's really happening here.
Lena Khan is the go. Lena Khan was the moderate solution.
Months, 3 organizations, 400 volunteers. We know the system exists for surveillance pricing, but we don't know if it's operational because we can't see inside. And that's intentional. It's a system that's designed to stay hidden.
This work that you all have done is fantastic, but state AGs have subpoena power. They can be requesting and demanding information so they can look under the hood and be understanding how are firms actually using this data.
She was about as far left as you can get without blowing it all up. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do without directly challenging a bunch of existing law and jurisprudence, the Supreme Court and all that business, you know? They track your cash too. Yeah, I saw. A good, more perfect union. Listen, I don't dislike more perfect union. I just think that they should be more critical of the sincerity. Oh, I've been meaning to shill for them as well lately, by the way. The Consumer Reports people. This is probably worth your money as well. They have a subscription service, Consumer Reports, but it's like, do you want to know whether a product is bullshit or not, whether it actually works? They test everything, and to get all the data, you have to pay them a subscription, you know? But it's a small subscription. I think it's worth it, and I believe in the service. How well is that channel do? Consumer Reports? They're not a YouTube channel. They're a massive consumer advocacy product testing group. This is just their channel. Don't they have a nice magazine? Presumably.